In this video, I'm going to be using all of my Nikon full frame cameras. That's the Nikon D850, the D750 and the Z7 to capture and video baby kookaburras over a 5-week period. Just over a month ago now, I shared a video on my channel of some baby kookaburras that I found in nature that had just hatched. Now, if you haven't seen that video, what I'll do is I'll leave it up here for you to go and check out. But in this video, what I did was I went back to the nest and I kept my distance, but over a 5-week period, I watched them grow till eventually they left the nest. In my last video, I described this scene as one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in nature. So I thought it would be interesting to keep my eyes on these baby kookaburras as they grew, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I'd eventually capture them leaving the nest and flying around the local area. At the end of the second week, we had a pretty intense storm in my location, and my immediate concern was for the baby kookaburra's nest and whether it had survived after the battering of rain and wind. After that night of the storm, I went down to the nature reserve early the very next morning to check on the nest. Now, when I turned up, the nest was intact. But very sadly and unfortunately, one of the little kookaburras had fallen out of the nest and passed away at the base of the tree. Now, whether that kookaburra was spooked by the lightning storm or not, I'm just not sure, but I read up about baby kookaburras and learned that it can get very competitive in the nest when it comes to food. And sometimes siblings can fight and end up pushing one another out of the nest. So there were 2 left now, and I kept on capturing them. Baby kookaburras normally take flight from the nest at around week 5, but at about the halfway mark through week 4, again, very sadly, I found one had passed away at the base of the tree. I guess the competition for food in the nest had got pretty intense, and so now only one remained. My wife, who was with me at the nest at the time, decided to give that last little one a name, and she called it BK, and that's short for baby kookaburra. At the beginning of week 5, I began to visit the nest 3 times daily, morning, noon and evening, to make sure BK was okay. I knew it was getting close to the time BK would be taking flight, so I always had one of my cameras with me. Early on the Thursday morning of week 5, I walked down to the nature reserve and something wasn't right. I could actually hear BK, but it was making quite a loud, concerning noise, and I was worried that it actually hurt itself. So I was looking around frantically for it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I moved to an area near the nest and sat behind a tree and watched both the adult kookaburras calling out to BK. One had this delicious tender lizard all ready for a coming out of nest celebration meal. But I just couldn't locate BK anywhere. So I was behind this large tree and I was photographing these adult kookaburras, and I was trying to ascertain as to where BK was because I was really worried that it might have been hurt. Anyway, what happened was one of the kookaburras flew over to this larger tree and then looked down and started talking, and I was going, okay, what's going on over there? So I very slowly moved over to that large tree, and at the base was a large turkey mound. So I got there at the mound, I was looking around, couldn't see BK on the ground, and then I heard this little garbled little call. I looked to my left, and about 3 meters away, there was this little face looking at me. BK was out of the nest and was taking in the world for the first time. It was just so beautiful to see, and I had my Nikon D850 firing away. I even had time to switch out lenses from my 80-400 to my 70-200mm f2.8 VR2 because I was getting such close shots. I kept my distance though, so I didn't disturb this little one, and I just kept firing off shots and capturing video. Very happy to report since BK is flourishing in the nature reserve, and the adult Kookaburras have been caring for it, and that will continue now for another few months until BK learns to capture food. Now I think by the looks of the colours of the tail feathers, BK is a little girl. Now when I'm down in the reserve I can hear and see BK, and I get to photograph her every now and again, and I still get really excited. It was really sad that the other two didn't make it, but that, unfortunately, is nature. Nature can sometimes be extremely rewarding and beautiful to watch, but on the flip side, it can also be extremely brutal and harsh. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Never stop creating, and I'll see you next time.